enjoy the podcast too.
What is up, everybody? It is Tuesday night, and I am joined by three of my favorite people who all have a way with words in kind of different ways. The ever eloquacious Walter Mitchell, the ever not safe for work Jackie, and the writer of every blog in the known universe, Aaron Van Buren. I am so happy to be joined on a Victory Tuesday. Oh, Jackie just stopped out. She'll be right back, I'm sure. So, we didn't think we'd have many of these. I think none of us really thought this would be a Victory Tuesday, but boy, no. It's a Victory Tuesday and a half. We are excited about that. But real quick, Aaron, my friend, it's been a while. How are you?
I'm good. Hopefully my voice doesn't give out from yelling in the weight room all day and then working second job as a waiter. So if my voice cracks tonight or reverts to 10-year-old me, okay, fair warning. But happy to be here after a very unexpected win.
Awesome. And Walter, it's good to have you back on here. You and I did a podcast or last week talking about tanking. And it's interesting. I think, the recent developments certainly add more data to that conversation. But Walter, it's good to have you. How you doing, man?
Great. Really excited about the win, Joe. I mean, wow, it was so great. And how about them Cardinals?
Right. And then, of course, the immensely talented Jackie of the Redbird Red Zone podcast had a little technical difficulties, but you are back. How are you, Jackie?
Yes, I'm back. Sorry about that, but I'm doing fabulous. It's always a great, not even just a Victory Monday, but a whole week where you beat Dallas.
It's been our things pretty much since 2008.
Yep.
Listen, I've said this before. If you know me, you've probably heard this. I've always had two favorite football teams, the Cardinals and whoever's playing the Cowboys. And on some beautiful Sundays, they just coalesce and become one and result in a victory. And I mean, it's the best, right? Like, listen, in a season like this where it's a rebuild, the expectations are tempered. A win against the Cowboys is maybe the highlight of the season. Hopefully there are other highlights, but it's certainly a good Victory Tuesday. I'm going to say hey to the folks in the chat real quick. We got Class and Nasty. Let's go Cardinals. Appreciate you being here. AZ Esports Cards. That Victory Tuesday feeling right. Torch down. Woo! Keith Davis. Appreciate you. Recently joined as a channel member. Let's go. Boston Fort. Yes. Agent 47 Full House. We've got Mikey who wrote the lyrics to that intro theme song. Mikey Desert Cardinals. What up, Cardinals? Let's go. Low Tone Capone, thanks for being here with the fire emojis. Brett Jones, hello all. It's been a while being on live. Appreciate you hanging out with us. So we're going to get right into it and talk about some things from this game. We're going to go around the horn and just kind of give our takeaways from the game. Just maybe the thing that stood out to you. Jackie, why don't you get us started? What was something about this game that stood out to you?
The efficiency with our offense, of course, Jobs. Sorry, I can't talk. Looks
the
stellar.
Dobb father.
The Dobb father, if you will, the pastronaut. He another solid game. So that last week wasn't a fluke, especially playing the Giants, not the best team, even though they beat us. But Josh Dobbs against a really good defense, looked great. He completed 81% of his passes, a couple touchdowns. So he was efficient. Our run game was very efficient, and I was looking at time of possession, which is interesting, and Dallas actually dominated time of possession, 34 minutes. We had 25 minutes with the ball. So what we did in less time and less yards, because Dallas had a total of 416 yards, we had a total of 400. So everything we did was far more efficient than what Dallas was doing.
Right. Yeah. Tons of efficiency though. You love to see that. Right. And that's how you beat a team like Dallas that has, sort of kind of the firepower. Right. I think the Dobb father is very popular. What was the other one, Jackie, that you said, the astronaut one?
Pastronaut.
I love it. So Dobbs is endearing himself with this fan base, right? Coming in, people were down on him with that first game. People wanted Tune to start. And I get it, right? The rookie's popular and excited. And, credit to you, Jackie, on your podcast. Y'all were talking about give this guy some time. And we're seeing it now. And listen, he's got a winning personality. He's smart. He's interesting. His TikTok game is on point, with the stuff with Micah Parsons dodging the darts, if you didn't see that, and the whole thing with his jersey. That's the kind of player you love having in your organization. And I think, he's got a future as the backup to Kyler, a guy you can depend on in that way. So love seeing that. Walter, what was your kind of big takeaway from the game?
All three phases. Great stuff. Ground control to Major Dobbs. I mean, wow. That was the most efficient quarterbacking I've seen at home for the Cardinals in a couple of years. Very impressive. The big plays, the Dobbs run, the Rondale Moore scoot for a touchdown, the creativity, the deep mesh plays they ran that got Wilson freed on a couple of big, huge occasions. Marquise playing well, catching that, game sealer touchdown was awesome. That's a great play. If you haven't seen the QB schools breakdown of Dobbs's play, it really is a testament to what he's been able to do in 3 weeks. I mean, each week, you could play a good first half, the first game. He got into quarter 3 and game 2, and this time in week 3, he closed it out. And the defense, sticky man cover in the red zone, as good as I've seen in a couple of years. Maybe even actually good as I've seen in like 5 years or 6 years. That was awesome. Those, relegating them to the, closing them out on a 4th down and then making them kick a field goal and then getting the interception from Kaiser White. And then we can't omit Matt Prater's. We need a nickname for him. 62-yard line drive, kicked right on the laces.
Matt living on a Prater.
The laces face up, which obviously had to do with why that was a line drive, because Prater typically doesn't kick those line drives. So all three phases showed up big.
Yeah, and you referenced the quarterback school, JT O'Sullivan's YouTube channel. He did, and some folks mentioned we watched that. He did an outstanding breakdown of what Dobbs did well. O'Sullivan is always balanced, and he'll be critical when there's reason to be critical and complimentary. And usually his videos have both. And he showed points where the footwork kind of hurt the throws of Dobbs, and where he could have made better throws with better footwork. But he also highlighted some plays where he just had some really impressive throws, some really impressive dimes. So if you haven't checked that out, it's definitely worth checking out. So yeah, it was great to see all three phases of the game. It didn't feel like they relied overly on any one phase. They were like you said, that field goal was huge, right? The defense came up to bat and was there to play. The offense did a good job. So absolutely right there, Walter, all three phases. Aaron, what was your takeaway from the game?
So both of them actually have to come down towards the defense of both teams. I think Nick Rallis did a great job with the defense. Kaiser White is a stud. He reminds me of after the Eagles won their first Super Bowl, or Jordan Hicks, like when Jordan Hicks came over in like his first year and a half or so, he was making impact plays, but like Kaiser White has like some edge to him that I haven't seen that since Carlos Dansby was running around at the linebacker spot. And then for him to get the game sealing pick that was awesome. Cause I remember the last time I was on your podcast towards the end of the preseason, I think I had highlighted him as like, a guy to watch or somebody who I really enjoyed watching the preseason. And I mean, he had 14 total tackles, 8 solo, just racking up the stat sheet. So that was really awesome. But how about the Cardinals offensive line, though? Only giving up 2 sacks, and the play that Micah Parsons got he was offsides anyways. So I don't have a chart of where Parsons lined up, but if he was over on the right side going up against oh my gosh, first round pick,
Paris Johnson Jr.
Thank you. If he was going up against him, he was doing a hell of a job, and it's not easy to block a freak of nature like that. So the old line is looking better, and Froholt was manhandling people. It was great to see. So just being able to prevent Dallas's defense and our defense to step up was what I really enjoyed.
And folks that in the chat are watching that may not know, Aaron played college ball as an offensive lineman. So when Aaron talks offensive line,
Oshkosh, baby.
That's right. So when he talks offensive line, I listen. Yeah. So yeah, we've been talking about this that, a lot of people thought the offensive line would be horrible just because the narratives about the Cardinals that they're going to be horrible. But I've been saying for a while that they brought in some solid people, like, to play, guys that they brought in. Froholt, not a big name, but someone who is a guy who can play, drafting Perry Johnson Jr. I felt like this offensive line was going to be decent. I didn't think it'd be great. And I don't think it's played great, but it's been decent. It has not been abysmal like it has been last couple of years. Right. And that's really nice to see that. So real quick, I'll say a couple, hey to a couple of the folks in the chat, and then I'll get to kind of my takeaway. We got Otis Driftwood. Yo, what's poppin'? Appreciate you being here. We got JP. Thanks for being here. Keith Davis saying the game reminded me of the movie The Replacements. The Replacements players beat the returning Dallas players to make the playoffs. An underdog story. Would love to see that. Romboid Bubble. Hey, thanks for being here. I think we got a few other. Jason Garcia. Thanks for hanging out here. Prater is goated after that for kickers, though. We got Corey. Yeah, right. We got Corey Cards, who's got a great podcast doing with my buddy Rashad here. They were on just before we were. Thanks you guys for being here. Brett Jones, coaching was pretty good. Shows the buy-in by the players 100%. That to me is one of the bigger takeaways is this team is bought in to the pew 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 kind of thing. People are clouding JG for his personality and the fire and the gut speech that I defended on Twitter, but like players are buying in. Right. And that's huge. Dana, thanks for being here. Gallup, on the other hand, was way over average, which goes with what I noticed that Clark was struggling more with him. So yeah, Clark had a low PFF grade. He did struggle a little bit. So my big takeaway from this game, we had 2 weeks that I would describe as kind of moral victories, like, against the Commanders and then against the Giants. And, it was certainly, deflating to give up that lead against the Giants, but a team that people thought was going to get blown out week in and week out. The first 2 weeks, we had some moral victories. We were in those games. We had a chance, right? Many people have said on Twitter, we were Kyler Murray away from being 3-0 right now. And so it's been close, right? But for me, the big takeaway is this was not just we had a chance. We were kind of hanging in there. No, the Cardinals took the lead. They took a commanding lead and they held on to it. They kept the gas down. They kept their foot on the gas and they kept the brakes on the Dallas offense. Right, the defense kept them to 16 points. This offense, with CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott, this team that was lauded by many people as the best team in the NFL, at the top of a lot of power rankings, going against a team that was, I think, unfairly put at the bottom of the power rankings. I mean, we know the Cardinals are in a rebuild, but like after the way they played against the Commanders and the Giants, you would have thought they deserved to be 28-25. But no, the narrative about the Cardinals had them at the bottom. Yeah. But this team came out, put their foot on the pedal, and they took control and they maintained control. And it was a decisive win. This was not a win you look at and say, oh, they kind of hung in there and lucked into it. They had a game plan. The coaching staff had a plan. The players had the fire in the gut. They executed, and it was as clean a win as you can ask for. There's no excuses for it, right? The Cowboys, if they want to make excuses, injuries, well, our quarterback's kind of out, right? We have some injuries on our side too. Don't give me that crap, right? I get it, right? Injuries happen. They're happening to us too. This was a decisive, clean win, and with no caveats to it. To me, that's my big takeaway. And that was something that I think, I think the team was already built in. They didn't need a culture change. They didn't need a moral victory. But for the fan base, this win has been kind of a galvanizing thing. You're seeing more optimism amongst the fans. Fans now buying into this coaching staff. So for me, I'm excited about this. The fact that it's a Dallas Cowboys win is certainly nice, but it was the kind of win you need that can certainly set the tone for the rest of the season. Any thoughts?
Said.
Okay. I get paid to use the words. So let me say hey to a couple of folks that jumped in here. Topic 64. What's up? Appreciate you being here. Chris Young, thanks for being here. Kyle Kiesling, thanks for being here. Let's go Cards, baby. Agent 47, their DL was healthy and we ran a lot, right? So yeah. So listen, it's an exciting thing. There's all these things to be excited about in terms of what happens. So the next question for me, and that I'll ask you all is it time to recalibrate expectations for the Cardinals, right? This team that coming into the season, people thought was going to be have the first overall pick and have the worst record in the season, right? And that was going to maybe win 3 or 4 games. Real quick, super chat from Topic 64199. Thank you so much. If we can beat Dallas, we can knock out San Francisco. We're going to talk about that later. What's the game plan for that? Because that's a tall order. I think San Francisco is a tougher matchup for us than Dallas. But listen, any given Sunday, we're seeing some things we like. So we'll talk about what's it going to take. But man, that would be a big accomplishment. Thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate that. So is it time to recalibrate expectations? And if so, what are the new expectations in terms of wins, in terms of record and what we're going to see through the season? Walter, let's let you get started on this one. Is it time to recalibrate expectations? And if so, what are those expectations?
Well, I think we're beginning to find out what, how talented our younger players are. And who many of whom were not coached to their highest potential or given the kind of commitment that this coaching staff isn't going to yank Catrell Clark after he, gets a PI. It's just not gonna. And, that's a refreshing change. So I think people have been underestimating the Cardinals roster in terms of its talent. I mean, look at Rondale Moore. Yeah. I mean, dude is talented. But who we finally put him in position to make a play or two.
I didn't recognize him on that run.
It was awesome. And this Michael Wilson. Whew. I mean, I don't miss Hopkins in the least. In fact, Wilson has more yards than Hopkins. And we're getting a huge, great attitude from that kid and no prima donnas on this team. That's a huge difference, too. There's no double standards anymore. They vowed to align the whole organization. This is showing up. Attitude is high. Effort's high. And have you seen a Cardinals team play this physical for 3 straight games? It's hard to, think back at how, where we saw that from the team. Usually we'd had a breakdown in at least one phase or two, but they're really getting after it. So when you have those components and a hungry young coaching staff, how about Reyes and Petzing? Oh my goodness. I mean, Petzing, the game plan he put together against the Cowboys was impeccable. I mean, except for the razzle-dazzle hiccup, which I think the timing of that play was way off because we just had a big play and we didn't need to stack it right then. But and I'd love to see that play under normal circumstances or see what they're trying to do with it. But yeah, I mean, the expectation now is to have fun with this team. We know they're going to show up. We know they're going to play hard. We know they're going to be prepared in ways. I mean, this is the first time, Joe, I've heard a player after a game in a long time say, "Oh, we practiced that play." Kaiser White saying, "All week I wasn't getting it right. I was just praying that when I saw Gallup coming, I knew what to do, and I was just praying I wouldn't drop the ball." I mean, so the fact that they're actually recognizing the preparation and the process is very encouraging. So, I mean, beating the Cowboys, who were ranked number 1, coming up from 32, which I tweeted over to Mike Florio.
Right.
I said, imagine if this was 3 days before the game, because he had Cardinals 32. He had Cowboys at number 1. I said, imagine if. And now it's not imagine if, it's what's next. So, I don't look beyond the next game. But I think we're going to show up in San Francisco. Last time Jonathan Gannon was there, he certainly had his way with getting to Brock Purdy and stifling that vaunted 49ers offense. And, so who knows? But it's football is back to being fun. And I'm just so excited about it.
For sure. Aaron, what do you think about recalibrated expectations for the Cardinals?
Well, I think we can safely say goodbye to the number one overall pick. I mean, those poor souls up in Denver, Colorado, good luck. Or Chicago too. So
Right.
Cue Trees Tank Bowl next week, as that is somehow a matchup. Yeah, avert your eyes, it'll be bad. But I think that I do agree with some of the people in the comments, like who just said 4 more. Chris Young, think about 4 more games. I'd be comfortable with that. I just don't think that being 1 and 2 is going to be a possibility. So like if the plan really is Caleb Williams, well then you better start packaging and scheming now to get up there, because now all these other teams are going to be up there, and trying to get their guy. If Murray does come back, which I've seen so much speculation about, is it week 4 or once he's here, he's going to need a couple weeks. But like once he comes back, I think that's when, after that first game, you can really kind of answer this question more. But for Josh Dobbs to come in and kind of, endear himself to the fan base, I mean, other than Murray, we haven't had a quarterback, and especially one who's kind of seen as like a backup / replacement, do this since Drew Stanton did, almost 10 years ago now. So I would say 4 more wins, and we'll see what happens with the other bottom dwellers, and maybe our other first round pick gets better.
Yeah, here's hoping, right, that the Texans don't let us down, right? Real quick, topic 64 with another super chat. Thank you so much for your generosity. Offense was great, but that Cardinals D, Kaiser, JT, Trell, DJ, Cam, time to take the show on the road. They got us to win at home, which we're not used to these last few years. And let's take that show on the road and see what we can do with that defense. I mean, man, that defense is so well coached. Yes, there's some, I still think that there's some talent deficiency in terms of the personnel, especially kind of on the interior defensive line, but they are making up for it with coaching and playing with effort. And some of those young players are stepping up. So we love seeing it. Thank you again so much, topic 64 for the super chat. Let me say to a couple other folks that jumped in here too. We've got Alona. Thank you for being here. A really kind person, Seahawks fan who always jumps in here, is always very, very thoughtful. Wow. Appreciate you being here. We got Salty as Gaming. What is up, my friend? What's up, everyone? Thank you for being here, hanging out with us. We got Mizaki Felix. I don't think we're after Caleb Williams. I agree. I think that was never the plan. I think they're trying to win. I think they're going to build. Yeah, I think. Listen, folks know I've been a Kyler apologist for a long time, and it seems like right now that's starting to pay off. We'll see. Here's hoping. Jordan P. Marvin Harrison Jr. is the guy we're targeting. That's the guy I want, and I just even am worried. Are we even going to be like? Are we going to be picking high enough to get him?
That's what I'm saying.
Right. But that would certainly be nice. We got Corey Red Sea. Appreciate you being here a bit late, but we are here now. So, all right, Jackie, recalibrated expectations. What do you think?
I think we have to, because everybody said tank this, tank that. We're tanking. National media said we're tanking. This isn't a tank. This is not a tank. And I said it, I don't know if it was here or on the Redbird Red Zone podcast. Players don't tank. Coaches don't tank. And this was a win where the players went out and worked their butts off to get that first win for their coach. And it felt very cohesive. And you knock off the team that everybody crowned the Super Bowl champions in week 2. So just to go in there and just to defy all odds, what it seemed like, you kind of feel like they're not going to make I don't think they'll make playoffs, but I feel like the Cardinals are going to be a fun team this year, and they're going to really make some noise. My homer prediction at the beginning of the year was 5 wins. Once we didn't get the first 2, I thought, okay, maybe that is a bit of a stretch, because those were the 2 wins you should have got. But I also said that the 5 wins were going to come, they're going to steal it from somebody, and they stole it from Dallas. So I think we might be able to steal some more, win some very convincing games. And, if we keep this up, we're going to be a very good team going into next year, whatever pick we land. Because I believe in Monty Austin for it. So I don't think we need the number one overall pick, even if it was just to get it, to trade it. Or, we don't need the top 5 pick. We can probably find some value guys. We've got so many picks lined up for next season that we're picking in the top 75 for sure. So
And
I think that just get the tank, get over the fact that this isn't a tank, and enjoy the ride.
Yeah, you
and then the
wanted to
other
jump in
thing
there,
too,
Aaron.
yeah, and the other thing is the Cardinals could be a real dark horse season spoiler for a lot of teams. Dare I even say like a home record to some of these teams searching for playoff wins. And it may also open the door up quite a bit. I actually, if you go back 10 years ago, the Cardinals always had we always beat the Seahawks late in the year, and that opened the door for the Falcons to get in, quite a bit, and sparked their run all the way up to Super Bowl 51. And that didn't end the way they wanted, but just keep your eyes out for that because that's always fun.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree. And I've been long saying this isn't a tank job. There's a nuance to that conversation, and in that podcast we did on the Take It Easy podcast with Walter, myself, and Kyle Ledbetter, we kind of got into that nuance because you're right, Jackie. The players aren't never going to try. The players are playing their ass off. They're always going to. Coaches are going to coach their ass off. There is this conversation about does an organization tank by how they build the roster, and that's where a lot of people have said they were tanking. And I've always argued that that's not. You're not putting the roster that way because you're trying to lose so much. As Desmond's here saying, we stripped the roster down, filled it with young, hungry guys, got to build quality depth. Really, what it is sound roster building. If you're doing a real rebuild, first year you have to clear the decks of those big contracts. Walsh, you referenced the prima donnas that you get off the books with DeAndre Hopkins, a big contract, and I loved Hopkins as a player, but I think it was the right move in retrospect, right? So you clear the decks, you bring in young players, let them play. That looks like tanking, and it has, I guess, the result. But the prime objective there is not lose games. The prime objective is build young talent that is cost controlled because they're rookie deals and build through the draft. And that's the sustainable way. So it's not a tank job, but it does typically result in losses. But I also believe that teams that are doing that, if you tell them, you know what, you could do this and win 2 games, or you could do this and win 7 games and miss the playoffs. Which would you choose? Those teams are going to pick 7 games and miss the playoffs because they want that momentum going into year 2. They want to build the culture. They want to show proof of concept. They want to show something going on. So I think I agree. We got to recalibrate the expectations. I've been saying 6 to 7 wins to me seems like more reasonable, realistic. But there's a part of me, and I talked about this on my live stream last night, that has this just like, hey, let's not completely eliminate the possibility of them like doing something crazy and like maybe even eking into the playoffs. Because think of it this way. If this team continues to be in games and kind of the coaching helps them to stick in games and win a few, and Kyler comes back and they got 10 games with Kyler, let's say, right? We have no idea when he's going to be back, but let's say he comes back with 10 games to spare. And let's say at that point, the Cardinals have 2 wins. Okay. They pull off another one, maybe 3 if they're really surprised. But let's say they have 2 wins by the time Kyler comes back. Like, is it that unrealistic to think that Kyler freaking Murray, who we have seen played at an MVP level in this offense that Drew Petzing has shown us that we're all praising, with these young, hungry players, with this offensive line, and with this running game that takes pressure off Kyler, that does not force him to be the hero ball player, is it out of the realm of possibility that Kyler and this offense could roll? The defense could, through coaching and grit, play well enough that they win like 7 games, like out of 10 with Kyler at the back end, and surprise everyone and come up with 9 wins and eke into the playoffs in an NFC that's questionable in terms of its strength. Like, I'm not trying to be all naive. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it's not crazy, right? Am I crazy, guys?
No, I go back and forth with that all the time. I feel like the NFC as a whole conference has been the weakest it's been in a long time. And, going into the season, I thought the Vikings were going to be a better team, and they're not. Carolina, it might be in play for the number 1 pick. The Bears are in shambles. There's just so many teams that you have these expectations for that they're not meeting. So it wouldn't surprise me one bit. And yeah, we just knocked off Dallas, who, like I said, everybody crowned the Super Bowl winner in week 2. So it's not crazy. If Kyler comes back at a decent time and we shake things up, I would love to see it.
Imagine this. Last week of the season, we win, the Cowboys lose. We end up with the same record, and we get the tiebreaker to get in the playoffs. Oh, how sweet.
I didn't know if you were talking about draft or something there for a second.
No, I mean, I was hopping on Joe's playoff. Is it crazy? So
yeah.
But look at it this way.
All
right. Because I don't like to get beyond 1 week. As of today, we're 1 game behind the wild card. There are only 2 undefeated teams in the NFC. Okay? No, it's true. Look at the standing.
Yeah.
It's
only 2 undefeated teams. They'll be division winners, more than likely. So they're in automatically. So right now, with 1 win, 1 and 2, we're 1 game behind the wild card. I'll take it.
What do you think, Aaron? Am I crazy?
No, I don't think you're crazy. I'm just,
okay.
In response to Walter's point, I'm just gonna hold my breath on that one for a little bit. If we get there, I mean, great, hallelujah. I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but I just sat and I watched that game and I was in a stunned state for 3 hours. I'm like,
yeah,
who, when, where, what is this team, and what did you do with them? But I'm glad it's there. And then the one thing I wanted to say is, it's so funny that for years we're just yelling at Vance Joseph like, play the damn rookies, and then he finally plays them, and we're like, kind of like, are you actually doing this? Are you
Right.
and to build through the draft, and the Cardinals fans with the last 10 years were like, no way, we don't want to do that. But it's so refreshing, and I don't think you're crazy. I just I see, I agree with Jackie, 5-6 wins tops. But even at that point, if we get to that, then if they can do that with that roster, imagine what this front office is going to do with the new picks and more cap space coming in next year.
Right. I mean, if that's what they end up with, we've got great momentum into year 2. And year 2, I think they have a great shot at the playoffs, right? So 100%. Real quick, Back to Constitution with a $10 super sticker. Thank you so much. Back to Constitution 1 has been a long time supporter of this channel. Really appreciate you. And he has highlighted that something that we all enjoy, right? That Dallas fans already hate us. We're 7-1 against them last 8 meetings.
Yes.
I love that stat. Real quick, Eric Walsh, we got a Seahawks fan. As a Seahawks fan, what a wild W for y'all. Thank you for hanging out with us. Yeah, listen, it's wild win, but we love it. We'll take that win for sure against the Cowboys every freaking year. So Calvin, the channel member, longtime supporter, the first super chat ever when I got monetized was Calvin. I will always remember that. Thank you, Calvin, for being here. Appreciate you. If Dobbs continues to improve, I don't know if I'd mess with the quarterback chemistry to bring back K1. I mean, I think you have to bring back K1. I totally get where you're going with that. And I think, Dobbs is endearing himself. Like, you pay Kyler to be the quarterback, but even beyond that, right? They want to see Kyler in the system this year. And, there's a lot of the whole, I think they're going to stick with Kyler, but obviously there's this whole question, everyone talking about, do they draft a quarterback? Well, listen, if we're not picking as early as we thought we'd be, that's maybe out the door anyway. But I think they want to see Kyler. They've said they're going to play him as soon as he gets back. So I totally get the sentiment here. Love what we're seeing in Dobbs, but I think when Kyler's ready to go, he's going to go. But thank you for being here, hanging out with us. I always appreciate you. Calvin. All right. So next question here, or next topic I want to get at is, with what we've seen, how are we feeling about JG hire now? Right. Because there's been some talk on Twitter, right, about, in retrospect, right, that maybe we dodged a bullet with the Sean Payton thing with what we saw in Denver. Now, I think Sean Payton could still turn things around there. It's early, but boy, that was ugly against Miami. Of course, Miami is really doing some crazy
They're
stuff.
scary.
They are. Mike McDaniel, that dude he's funny too. He's smart and funny. I love that. His stuff is great that he does in press conferences. But listen, I got the receipts to show. If you go back, watch my videos, my live stream, I was optimistic, at least cautiously optimistic about giving Gannon a chance. When a lot of people were saying we need a coach that has NFL head coaching experience, I was like, not necessarily. Look at all these guys who are first-time head coaches like Mike McDaniel who step in and do a good job. What you need is to have experience as an NFL level coordinator, right? So
Yes.
I was cautiously optimistic, but I will say, like, into the draft, Monty, I'm all in on. I'm like, when we saw with the draft, I was like, okay, I'm sold. He nailed that in terms of maneuvering to get draft capital and the players he selected. And now we're seeing them perform. So Monty, I was all in. I still wanted to see something from JG, because coaching, you got to see it on the field. And we like what we're seeing. So you can guess where I'm going. But, Jackie, why don't you guys start? How are we feeling about the Jonathan Gannon hire now?
So I actually wrote about coaching prospects for AZ Sports Underground, and I had mentioned nothing about Gannon because he wasn't on my radar. We wanted Sean Payton. I was in the camp of Sean Payton. And then I switched. There's a few coaches that I was on board for, and then you kind of hear out of nowhere that Gannon is the guy that they're targeting. And it's like, well, yeah, you're right. He's not an NFL. He has no head coaching experience. He just came off a Super Bowl loss. Eagles fans would try to convince you that he ain't worth a damn. But I like what I'm seeing. I was optimistic, and I was gonna I gave him a full chance when he was named our head coach. Despite the like the awkward energy, the hyperness, because he just seemed very enthusiastic, and that's what you want out of your head coach coming into what could potentially tank your career year one. And it's not a good team. You're coming in to clean up a dumpster fire. So he attacked that with a great attitude. He's resetting this culture. He said he wanted killers, and this defense, they rode the bus. They got fire in their gut. They play with intensity, an intensity that I haven't seen out of this team in quite some time. There was no energy in the Cliff era. So for him just to flip the culture, and then you've got what I joked and said, a bunch of Uber drivers, on defense, shutting down the Cowboys.
Oh my God.
That's what good coaching does, is you work with the roster you're given, and you coach these players up to be the best that they can be, despite, I don't like to say lack of talent, because they have enough talent to make an NFL roster, but with the lack of star power you have to go out there and get a statement win. And you felt that they wanted that for their coach. You felt like this was an important win to get for your head coach, a home game against a team that has invaded our stadium for as long as the Cardinals have been in Arizona. So you've got to love what Jonathan Gannon's doing. No, he's not going to get fired in year one like Mike Florio had maybe predicted. But look on the flip side, look at Sean Payton. His team just gave up 70 points to the Miami Dolphins, and that guy's got an ego. And he threw Nathaniel Hackett under the bus. He's calling out Russell Wilson. You can tell he thinks very highly of himself, and I think that's something that we did not need in this organization, was somebody that's got an ego. Check it at the door. We need a fresh restart, and he was not going to be it.
Yeah, Walter, how are you feeling about the Jonathan Gannon hire now?
Well, one of the things I tweeted after the game was the irony of Gannon getting his first win, or the serendipity of Gannon getting his first win on the same day that the two veteran coaching candidates Sean Payton and Dan Quinn had very rough afternoons. And as did, if you look further, Vance Joseph, Brian Flores, Mike Kafka earlier in the week. The only one who really had a good week was Lou Anarumo, who I loved, by the way. I still, in the back of my mind, I mean, I'm trying to get used to Gannon. There are things about him I really don't like, to tell you the truth. But one of the things I really love about him is who he hired. I think his staff is really good. And I think the reason why we're playing as well as we're playing is more because of Reyes and Petzing, and Jeff Rogers retaining him was good. But Gannon did a smart thing. He didn't take on too much like Cliff had to do, calling plays, being head coach. Gannon decided, let me hire the best people I know to get in here with me. And he's tight with all of them, and they prepare well, and Gannon's overseeing that. So I'm very optimistic, and I think if he grows well to the job, I'm hoping he's not going to be another bullshit coach in press conferences. And so far, it really bothers me that he looks like he is.
We need to do better.
He's trying to sell us on some things like, when the things wrong, they're so good, but I'm like, am I seeing the same game? I mean, and saying stuff like, yeah, I thought the offense got out of the huddle well. Like, big freaking deal. Really? Is that where the bar is? And I thought they played well. He said in the second half of the Commanders game. I'm like, what? So that kind of bothers me. Now, there's a better way to say that. We have higher expectations. We're going to strive to reach those expectations. You can say that about without throwing anyone under the bus, right? So I think if he gets a little more mature in how he sets the standards for the fans when he's talking to us and the media, I think that's going to be great. So I want to give anyone some wiggle room. He's fresh on the job. He's 3 games in. He pulled off a stunning win. And I want to see him do well. I don't want to see the coaching carousel continue to spin. But I know Michael Bidwell. I mean, if this is the only game we win, I'm not so sure, Jackie, that we can conclusively say Gannon's safe for next year.
I don't think it's the only game they're going to win, and I think they're going to continue to play hard. I think he will be safe. I think Bidwell is
we play the Texans too.
Well, yeah, Michael Bidwell is very, very conscious of public perceptions. He doesn't always do the right thing, make the right move. Sometimes he tries to overthink it and messes up, but he knows the public perception is that he's gone through coaches and GMs too much and so I don't think that's going to happen, but I think the way he's coached them, I just think they're going to play hard and that's not going to happen. I want to say, hey, real quick to Jay in the Bay, my buddy. He's a San Francisco 49ers content creator. We've done some collaborations and he is, Jay, I've got him on the calendar for next week to jump on here and be part of the post-game Tuesday night live stream. So Jay, looking forward to hanging out to you. Hope you and your family are doing well, my friend. Really good guy. So listen, there's some good things, maybe there's always some room for improvement. Aaron, how are you feeling about the Gannon hire now?
I mean, I'm still feeling, I still have my reservations, but I feel pleasantly surprised and, a little more comfortable under the collar, if you will, I guess. It's just, I really want to see how he can, how is he going to go from here? Again, now you get in the NFC West, division matchups, and it at one point in time was the best division in the entire NFL. And it's not the same anymore, but they're always tough. Divisional games are tough no matter where you go. So how are you going to be, are you going to be able to bring that Philadelphia level of dominance in divisional games to do that? Because if you start winning the divisional games or at least playing them tough, then I will be good. I don't think we're going to beat the 49ers, but I mean, hey, the Rams only lost to them by 7 points.
Right.
And the Rams, they are kind of in the same boat as us. They have their starting quarterback, but I digress. That's a winnable game. In a way. Do I think it's going to happen? With my brain says no, but my heart wants to think yes. But I think this kind of really just, puts the fire out on, all the off season, stuff and the edited clips and everything. So, it was a very vindicating win for Gannon, and I'm happy for him. And hopefully it just goes up from here.
Yeah. For me, I look at it through a very specific lens of what I'm looking for out of this coaching staff. And it has to do with the kind of hire that Gannon was, because there was so much talk about you need an offensive coach. And listen, there's lots of stats out there about how, offensive head coach and success in the Super Bowl. And certainly, again, we've referenced Mike McDaniel and what he's doing in Miami. And, and you've got the Kyle Shanahans who, and these coaches that do great things on offense, obviously, Andy Reid in Kansas City, who's got Mahomes, who's kind of a human cheat code. But so with hiring a defensive coach, there was a big question mark there, right? And understandably so, because there are defensive head coaches who are successful, like Bill Belichick is a defensive-minded coach, right? Although he's kind of can do everything. But like for me, my mindset, my lens that I look through is if you're hiring a defensive head coach, the coach has to be a CEO culture builder. Like if you're a great defensive coordinator, that is not enough to win as a head coach. You could be the best defensive coach like in the NFL as far as a pure coordinator, play calling and play design, but you need other things to be a successful head coach. You've got guys like Vic Fangio, who's widely respected, but did not succeed as a head coach. So when you're a defensive coach, what you need is that next level leadership, like Mike Tomlin, right? Mike Tomlin has that, right? And whatever people want to say about Belichick, he's prickly, he's mercurial, he's interesting personality, but he has a culture that works, okay? And it's his leadership works, whether you like it or not. So for me, what I'm looking for with Gannon as a coach is, okay, is he building that culture, right? Is the fire in the gut there? Well, check, right? We are seeing that, okay? Then the second thing I'm looking for is, okay, is he going to let his coordinators do what they need to do and bring in guys who are good coordinators, right? And who have good game plans? Because Gannon himself is not the guy who's going to scheme up the things. You need a Nick Rallis and Drew Petzing to be doing that and doing it effectively, right? So what we're seeing is, yes, he did bring in smart coordinators who have done good things. I was listening to Brett Coleman and EJ Snyder doing their podcast today, the Bootleg podcast, and they were talking about that game. And Snyder was talking about that, how creative Petzing's play calling was. Like he was talking about how creative it was. And it was really interesting because they know what they're talking about with film study. So like what I'm seeing is exactly what I wanted to see out of the type of hire that Gannon is, a leader, bringing culture, right? Well, we're seeing that the players are playing hard, despite what the media might say about how goofy he is. The players are buying in, and coaches under him who are smart, innovative, and he's letting them do what they need to do, and they're scheming it up. Well, they have schemed up a defense with players who are not, the star power like you talked about, Jackie, but are still holding the Dallas Cowboys to 16 points. The offense with the backup quarterback is finding a way to get some points on the board. I'm seeing everything I want to see out of Jonathan Gannon so far that fits what you need a coach like him to do to be successful. He's got to prove it over time. But so far, it's all, this professor is giving him A+ on the assignments that I had for him for the kind of coach he is. Real quick, Jay in the Bay, looking forward to Club as well. Appreciate you. So yes, I'm excited. He's got to prove it over long term. Sometimes coaches are going to have to hot start. Maybe it won't stick around, but so far I'm feeling really good about the Gannon hire. We got about maybe 5 minutes to get this last topic in. So I want to kind of go around. We got a game coming up against the 49ers, a team that I think is a much more difficult matchup than the Cowboys for us because the kind of way, the way they play defensively, the way they run the ball, the way, they do things. And, Brock Purdy's playing really well for them. So as concisely as we can, let's go around the room and just say, if the Cardinals can manage to beat the 49ers, what does that game plan look like? What's it going to take? Walter, we'll let you get us started on that.
All right. Well, to start on defense, you got to key on McCaffrey, both in the running game and the passing game, because your White needs a huge day on McCaffrey. And so does, I don't know who's going to, hopefully Chris Barnes is back, and he had a hell of a game, didn't he? Particularly in coverage. I thought he was very impressive. And I think he probably has won that job the last 2 weeks if he's back. But our linebackers really have to play well. The edges have to play well. They got to get to Purdy the way the edges like Hassan Reddick got to him in the NFC Championship game. They got to get him off his spot. If he can be able to just sit back there and throw from his spot, I think we're in trouble, because I don't think we match up well against Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, McCaffrey out of the backfield, and who am I missing? Who's the other really good one they have?
Well, they've got Ayuk.
Oh, Kittle, tight end.
Kittle, yeah.
Ooh. This just in, George Kittle. I mean, that's an embarrassment of riches. But I love that the adjustment the Cardinals made in game 3 in the second half was to play a lot of sticky man, and they're going to have to do that. The zones just aren't working yet. And they'll keep working on them, and they got to mix it up some. And then on the offensive side, I like the way they handled the Dallas defense. I think they can do similar things against San Francisco, and sort of make things interesting and difficult on Bosa, the way they did on Parsons, and kind of keep him guessing on his side. It'll be interesting to see what kind of game plan that Drew Petzing draws up, because I think they can move the ball on that defense. I don't think they're quite as good as they were when D'Amico Ryans was there. Boy, D'Amico Ryans had that team playing like piranhas. Mm-hmm. So, and Steve Wilkes is doing a good job so far, but I think you can attack the back end of that defense. And I'd love to see, here's the next step that Dobbs needs to take, is throwing over the top. The fade pass that he had for Moore went sailing out of bounds. The one to Wilson was wide open and he threw it perfect, but he could throw it on a straight line. But the ones with touch over the top, and we got to get Hollywood Brown out there. By the way, on that Wilson pass, it was so great. Hollywood Brown was open deep on that post. Yeah. And as JT O'Sullivan pointed out, from the launch point where they waggled him to, it was probably an easier throw it to Wilson, but he could have had Hollywood Brown over the top deep. So if the Cardinals could take that next step of threatening teams deep, oh my goodness. I mean, special teams have to show up huge. So
yeah,
I'm excited for it. I'm a huge challenge, obviously, but it'll be interesting to see what difference a year makes, because we played them in the last game last year, and it was close early because of the razzle dazzle play to AJ Green. So, but then David Blau got concussed, and the rest was just a total blowout.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see if juxtapose that performance versus what we see on Sunday.
Yeah, Aaron, real quick, what do you think, if we're going to win this game, what's it got to look like?
James Conner is going to be the key factor. Keep the clock running. and spread the ball out horizontally. Petzing did a great job of actually calling effective screens and actually having linemen know where to go. So that really kind of, extinguished a lot of the heat coming from the Dallas pass rush. Look, the Niners offense is going to make plays. We got a lot of young guys. It's going to be there. But if we can keep them off the field for as long as possible and win the time of possession, because if you go back and you look at the Rams-Niners game from, I believe it was week 1, the Rams actually won the time of possession battle by about 7 minutes, and they were able to keep it within 7 points. So maybe that's the way I would go for it. Have 7 more minutes time of possession and see what that gets you.
Jackie, what do you think is the key for winning against the 49ers?
First and foremost, don't turn the ball over. Whatever, I haven't paid a whole lot of attention to San Francisco this year, but if we can just kind of recreate what we did against Dallas against them, I think we'll be in good shape. Because like I mentioned at the beginning, we only had the ball for 25 minutes, but we were very effective with what we did in less time. So if we can just keep doing that, get James Conner involved, dominate time, and maybe even dominate time of possession. So yeah, our defense doesn't have to go out there and try to stop that offense, because I feel like their offense is more higher power than Dallas. And then yeah, whatever Gannon did in the NFC Championship to get to Purdy, recreate that. So just try to get him off of his game, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And, I think, one of the things, people talking about, the tackling's got to be better,
Yes.
Thunder said that the PFF grades reflected the Cardinals tackling grades were really low on the defensive side. And, so the eye test showed that as well. So absolutely the Cardinals have to tackle better. They have to find a way defensively to kind of keep that Shanahan, wide zone, outside zone offense, which is kind of the similar ethos to where the Cardinals offense is from. They need to stop that, because Kyle Shanahan, what he does so well is that running game. And then they build the passing game off of it. And the Cardinals, defensively, they need to find a way to keep that at least contained. You can't completely stop it, but kind of contain it. Offensively, and y'all have kind of talked about this or in different ways made this point, Petzing has to continue to scheme up things that do the whole jujitsu thing with the pressure, right? Like redirect that pressure. They did that with Micah Parsons. They effectively schemed an offense that kind of prevented Micah Parsons from wrecking things. They need to do that with Bosa and the rest of that pass rush in San Francisco. The coaching has to, on both sides, have a game plan that can negate what San Francisco does so well. That's the key. And I think it probably does have to be a time of possession close game to win this one. This is a tough matchup, so we'll see what happens. Wanted to get us out of here in around an hour. So what we're going to do is we're going to go around, let each of you just kind of shout out where people can find you, your content, what they can expect for you, and anything you want to say on our way out. And then we're going to get out of here. Jackie, get us started. Where can people find you? What can they expect from you? And why do they need to follow you?
You can follow me on Twitter at jsandiego. That is with 2 O's. I am a contributor to AZ Sports Underground, hopefully to get back into the writing aspect of it. You can find me on Thursdays at 6 or 6:30 p.m. at the Redbird Red Zone podcast. That's also on the AZ Sports Underground YouTube channel. It's very fun. It's very drunk, and it's just a lot of me with my R-rated take. So if you like what I said today, you want the X-rated version, definitely check it out.
Not safe for work. Lots of fun though, right? I've been on there with you guys. I try to hang out in the chat when I can, and you guys do a great job. It's a lot of fun. Walter, where can people find you, and what will they get when they find your content?
Yeah, first of all, I just want to say I've seen Jackie's show and I really enjoy it. She does a great job. Tune in. It's great. It's really fun. And the content is good. I mean, it's really good. So you get it all there. Yeah, I'm at revengeofthebirds.com. I got an article coming up on Dobbs tomorrow. We're going to, you can also find me at WBJ Mitch on Twitter. Was arguing about Cliff Kingsbury today, who I think is much maligned, unjustly so. He set some records here that no coaches have set, like winning 8 road games in a single season is a franchise record of 121 years. You're not a shitty coach and do that. I'm sorry, but that's for another day.
Right.
But I'm engaged in all sorts of Kingsbury talk on Twitter recently, so you want to chime in with that, please do. And thanks
Walter,
for having me on.
Oh, glad to have you. Listen, you and I have done a lot of work together, and I always say this, but you and I disagree on things with some frequency, but like I just love chatting with you because there's always mutual respect, and I think just love working with you. So appreciate you jumping on with us. Aaron, tell people where they can find you, what they can expect from you, and about your latest marathon.
Thanks for the drop of that. I'm at _AVB Sports. I do have a strength and conditioning page, Twitter. That's _Coach AVB. God, I can't remember now. It's been so long.
I've got that linked in the description of your Twitter.
That's the strength one, but _AVB Sports is where I'm at. And I haven't been doing a lot of writing. Recently, I've been working 2 jobs, working in high school now. So, but every now and then I get to dabble up one for Joe and the crew on AZ Sports Underground. So if you want to be there, then I will be, following the Cardinals. And if the Brewers ever get their stuff together and actually win the NL Central, it'll be great. But 2 Saturdays ago, as Joe brought up, I did actually do my second marathon because my first one, someone screwed up the course. Long story, not going to keep you around. But it took 15 minutes off my previous time. Finished actually under the cutoff by 4 minutes,
right.
And was good to finally get that one checked off the list. So
awesome.
Good to go.
Good
and
work.
By the way, I love your Neil Lomax poster behind you. I'm like getting goosebumps watching that.
Yeah,
that
straight
is
from
awesome,
the 80s.
Man. Yes.
Love
Great
it.
job.
Well, hey, y'all know where to find me. The Cardinal Rule on YouTube, at Jokomo13 on Twitter, AZ Sports Underground. I do a few things there sometimes, mostly behind the scenes. But I appreciate Walter and Jackie and Aaron hanging out. And I appreciate all you folks in the chat, the folks that hung out with us, comments, questions. Jason getting here late in the chat. Hey, John, I see. Appreciate you, Jason. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us. It's been a lot of fun. It's always fun on a victory, week. So we're going to get out of here. I'm going to throw up the channel member shout outs, get that theme song going, and then we'll get out of here and we'll see y'all next time. Peace, everyone.
Go Cards.
Woo!
Hey, yo, it's Joe Mo. He's the host of Mock Draft Monday on the Cardinal Show. So join the live, hit like and subscribe. Enjoy the podcast tonight. Enjoy the podcast tonight.